chance to enjoy those, and then we'll launch right into the entertainment for this afternoon. And we'll get in a couple minutes. I would invite you, if the hostesses at the tables, if you would like to take a moment, actually we can do that right now while the sandwich is served, we're enjoying tea and scones. Hostesses, if you would like to mention a little bit about China on your table or anything that's special about it. I think we should start with this table, and then you can probably follow this hostess's lead.
The china on this table was my mother's wedding china, actually. So I brought that in for the event today. So she's with me, her spirit. And at my table I have my sister Linda and her friend Kathy, and my niece and Linda's daughter Rhonda, my daughter Amelia, my granddaughter Lola, my daughter Ashley, my friend Ursula Edmondson, and you know her from Memories of Richmond. Yay. Ursula. She does a great job with that website. And my friend Jan Troutman. And the teapot in the middle was my grandmother Webb's teapot, the black one. And the teapot on the table was my husband's mother's teapot. And the little pink teapot in front of Lola was my mother's teapot when she was a little girl, I guess. I don't know. Never heard a story on that one. So that is my table, and I feel very blessed to have the china and my sister and my friend's daughter with me here today.
So that was a pretty good beginning. Sandwiches are coming out, so we'll just continue with that and continue to pass the mic along and to the table. The next table, this is Gail Lee, and she will tell you about the very special guests we have sitting at her table.
Did you hear me before? Okay. The women sitting at this table will stand up and tell you all about who they are portraying. Not right now, but we're going to tell you in a moment. In addition, is my friend Patty Collins and China is Johnson Brothers, Old Britain Castles, and it's historic, closest I could come. And who's next?
Next will be Diane Gibson. She has a very special table today.
Close enough. This special table, you might notice, have some gentlemen at it. That's pretty good, because a lot of times men don't like these things too much. Well, maybe they don't totally like them today, but we think it's great. Oh, okay, that's true. We have a gentleman who, that's his great-grandmother there or something. Like I say, I think it's kind of special to have gentlemen join, and maybe since these men have come, next time we have a tea or whatever, we can go home and say to their husbands, Dave Foster was there, Tom Hagen was there, Jim Weeks was there, Kurt Marshall was there, you can be there too. Bill. Yes, and then Charlie, when she was out, she got to sit at this table, but she has her hair, so that's pretty good too.
Hi, I'm Marcia Phillips, and my table has my husband's Brigitte Williams hand-painted china on it. Every piece is hand-painted by her, except the coffee pot and the little salt water shaker. She was born in 1895, and she died in 1978. She was born in Winnebago, Minnesota, and moved to Fort Huron. And she lived in Fort Huron. She was there as a young girl. She worked for Taylor there privately for many years, and then worked for Spears department store as a Taylor. And that's what she married to. And she is my mother. This is my mother-in-law's years. She was my mother-in-law's Amy. So I'm here today with my mom, who had a farm on M19 across from the Raleigh farm, Rose Hable, my Aunt Betty. There's 13 in their family. I'm Tommy's cousin. This is my sister Paulette and her granddaughter Kayla. And then I'm here with Kathy, who's also in our team, who's right?
Good afternoon. My name is Alana Stumpf, and I have the honor of serving as the chairperson of the Friends of the Lois Wagner Memorial Library. For those of you that don't know about our group, we are a nonprofit organization that works to support and raise funds for the Lois Wagner Memorial Library and its many, many programs. I am very excited to say that many of our members and volunteers, along with staff members, both past and present, are here today. If our members and volunteers and library staff members, past and present, could either stand or raise your hand briefly, just so I can thank you for being here. I would appreciate it. We, the Friends, along with the library staff, are happily hosting 2 tables today, this one and that one. Our tables all feature a library theme in honor of Richmond's 101-year-old library, the Lois Wagner Memorial Library. But more specifically, our tea tables honor and fondly remember our library's namesake and lifelong Richmond resident, Lois Wagner. Anyone who had the pleasure of knowing and working alongside Lois Wagner, or frequented Richmond's library back in the day, knew that 3:00 p.m. was tea time at the library. At the stroke of 3 o'clock, Lois would announce to both her office visitors and staff members alike, "It's time for tea." However, unlike tea time in the Victorian era, tea at the library did not include delicate china cups and saucers, table linens, nor delicious sweet treats to eat. Lois Wagner's electric hot pot was filled to the brim with City of Richmond tap water, followed by lifted tea bags, deftly dumped in steamy ceramic mugs. With Lois' ceramic mugs stating her unofficial title as Richmond's longtime librarian, the Star. Cellophane-wrapped saltine crackers replaced Victorian delicacies. While Lois Wagner's library tea and a true Victorian tea were vastly different, they both included a time of friendly conversation, warm smiles, the sharing of thoughts and ideas. A special kinship and time with those who live, love, and laugh together in our community of Richmond, Michigan, whose motto is, "With time for you." So it is that with special memories of Lois Wagner and with thankful hearts for the Lois Wagner Memorial Library, we are happy to be a part of the Richmond Area Historical and Genealogical Society's historic team. Thank you for having us.
Set by mariachis. Because I have no china. I said my grandparents were migrant workers, so they had nothing to pass down except getting us going into a good life. So I'll pass this along to someone who has something to say.
Hi, I'm Pat Hendrickson, and I believe I came the farthest from Nevada to be here with you and to meet one of my ancestors who's being portrayed today. At my table, I have some of the Rowley descendants who are also related to me in some way. and I have Doris Firstenall with me, who was a dear friend of my mom and dad's, who grew up in this community. And my table is set with china from my cousin Christine Rowley's China Hutch, and we're having a wonderful time, and I hope you are too.
Did you say you're the editor?
Just for your information, Patricia Hendrickson, who just spoke, is from Nevada. I think she told you that, but what she did not tell you is that she is the editor of the newsletter for the Historical Society. She is the one who works her magic with things that we send her and puts out the wonderful publication to you bi-monthly. At my table, I'm using china from my china cabinet, and I have Jamie Green sitting here with us. And my nieces and my granddaughter, she's left the table for a moment, but I'm very glad that they are here with me. Marguerite?
Close. Can you hear me? I'm Marguerite Little, and I have two tables. This place setting is my mother's rose pattern china from Germany, and at this table, this is my favorite Fox and Hounds equestrian hunt china in shades of blue and white. It's from Staffordshire, England. And these are my friends at both tables, and I welcome you and thank you so much for coming and enjoying today. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Barb Platz. My china is Rosenthal from Germany. It's a Maria Rosa bouquet design, and I first started picking up this china when my husband was stationed in Germany in the 60s. I had gone over to visit with him and had bought my basic set for 8 place settings, and over the years, because of my children being in the military and going to Germany, I've worked my way up to 16 place settings. And the glasses are lead crystal from Germany also, and I have Hummels on the table that have been collected from over the years, and have many new and older friends at the table. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Nolan, and my table is sponsored by ADK, which is a teacher's sorority, and I have some of my fellow teachers here with me, which is so nice, and my mom, and some new friends that we've made today. My china is my china from before I was married. I saw it and loved it and just started collecting pieces. So that's it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Foster, and it's such a pleasure to see so many ladies here and so many smiling faces. This is a wonderful benefit for the Historical Society, and I'm the one who's pushing tickets along with Casey, trying to raise additional monies for the group. My table, I have my cousin Chris Hench, Jean Breederlin, Phyllis Firstenoff, Fran Plagans, Winnie Rickert, her caregiver Faye, and my daughter Sarah. The china on my table has a little bit of a story. It is also hand-painted china that I bought at an auction, and some woman back in the 69 and 70, because every piece is dated, painted each individual piece, cups, saucers, plates, teapot, cream and sugar, and I bought it for $20, and so it's kind of a way to honor her memory. I don't know who she is. Her name was Barbara McGraw. I'd love to know who she was. And her family obviously didn't cherish it, so we do. The centerpiece is teacups from my teacup collection, mixed in with some baby's breath. Thank you.
Hello? Hello again. As most of you are aware, we are fortunate to have
gentlemen and ladies. As most of you know, we are very fortunate this afternoon to have 6 women with us who lived in the Richmond area many, many years ago. And they are here to tell us what life was like at that time. So you may continue to enjoy your sandwiches and your tea and be entertained by women who were in this community many years ago. And they will introduce themselves as we go along. And there will be some pictures on the screen. And we will begin with Mary Jane Stevens Claggett. Mrs. Claggett?
Hello, I am Mary Jane Stevens Claggett. My father was Abner Stevens, and my husband's father was Richard Claggett. My husband was Stephen Claggett. We were married when I was at the age of 17. We had 5 children together. All 5 of them outlived us. My husband died 9 years before me. We were buried together in the Richmond Cemetery. When I was a little girl, I was born in New York, 1929. I then moved to Michigan in the early 30s with my family. My family's entire house was burned down when I was a little girl. It was extremely devastating, but fortunately we were blessed to have charitable neighbors, and they rallied to help us build a new home. And in addition to that, we built a wagon station stop. We sold potatoes to travelers, which our neighbors donated to us. And it became one of the first stations in the area. My husband and I helped to create the Methodist Church. We were some of the first members. In fact, if you go there today, there is a window pane dedicated to my husband and myself. At the time I passed, I had 13 grandchildren. I was well educated, perhaps homeschooled. I wrote poetry, and I was considered to be very generous, loving, kind, and enjoyable woman. Thank you.
Hello, I am Ella Ricks, and I was born August 24th, 1843 in Lyons, New York. I moved to Michigan as a small child and went to school in Memphis. On August 30th, 1865, I married John Ricks. He was a corporal in the United States Army. Before my husband passed away on August 13th, 1896, we had 7 beautiful children, 6 sons and 1 daughter. I was a member of the Congregational Church and would attend so long as health would permit. On February 12th, 1926, I passed away as a result of falling on the ice. This is a picture of my brother-in-law's flour mill. And that's it. Who's next?
Thank you. Hello. My name is Louise M. Vaught Weeks, but I was known as Grandma Lucy. I was born on March 19th, 1854. My birthday just occurred. If I was alive today, I would be 160 years old. I was born in Columbus Township. I was the daughter of John and Francesca Vaught, German pioneers who made their home on Ellsworth Road. I had 3 sisters, Helen, Anna, and Frances, and a brother named Herman. I married Ira Weeks on September 12, 1872. We had 7 children: Cora Weeks Heath, Fred Weeks, Melvin Weeks, Francis Weeks Randall, Raymond Weeks, Gertrude Weeks Foster, and Florence Weeks Linkey. My sister Helen married into the Grinnell family, who were known for musical instruments, mainly fine pianos. My sister Frances was an artist and a school teacher in Elk Rapids, Michigan. My sister Anna lived in Richmond, Michigan, a half block from the original Congregational Church. She was a master cook and often stepped in to aid sick family. She was known for her fried cakes and often gave them away to anyone who asked. My brother Herman had a large farm in Columbus where family would travel to celebrate my and his birthdays and to boil sap for maple sugar. I developed terrible arthritis in my hands as I aged, but despite that, I kept house and raised my children and baked. I was known for my delicious apple cobblers, peach cobblers, and my cherry pies and angel food cakes, each with a dozen egg whites. I was also a member of the First Congregational Church and the Ladies' Aid Society of that church. My husband and Ira and I lived on Pound Road for the first 30 or so years of marriage in the homestead his parents, David and Mary Weeks, had established in 1835. David and Mary Weeks were among the earliest settlers in the Richmond area. Ira was their 7th child out of 8. Around 1903, Ira and I moved to a house on the corner of Main Street and Water Street. Many of our grandchildren were born in that house in what we dubbed the Blue Room. Most of our children lived well into old age. Ira was an entrepreneur who made part of his fortune in land sales and home mortgages in the Detroit area during a very good time to own land there. He instilled in his progeny a knowledge of how to make, keep, and control money. Ira's fortune allowed him to own one of the finest billiard tables in the area. It was also one of the first. He also collected fine art and owned his master's voice, so music recordings were common in our home. Our son Melvin was in Indian Oil, which was later Texaco. Our son Ray was a successful businessman. He was kind and generous and kept the family in high spirits, and often brought home gifts from his business trips to the city. My son Frederick played baseball on the Richmond town team. He also played in the Richmond Cornet Band and sang in the First Congregational Church Choir. He worked with his brothers to start the Weeks Slaughterhouse, which furnished product to the Ford Automobile Corporation. When Raymond took over the slaughterhouse, Frederick went on to own and operate the Fred Weeks & Sons on North Main Street in the Wetter Fanning Egg Building, selling feed, seed, grain, tractors, Christmas trees during December, and baby chicks in the spring. And with his sons, he started a ready-mix cement operation. Ira Weeks and his sons and their sons were prominent in the business of Richmond. My first and eldest daughter, Cora, was my support in the home and acted as a second mother to her siblings. My husband Ira died on July 9th, 1923. I continued to live on the house in the corner during the summer months, but I spent my winters with my second youngest daughter, Gertrude. When I died on January 12th, 1940, at 86 years old, I was survived by 6 children, 24 grandchildren, 25 great-grandchildren, and 3 sisters. And this is me.
Hello, I'm Mary Jane Liscombe Ward. I was born February 14th, 1839. I married Robert Ward, and I'm originally from Bowmansville, Ontario. We built our first home from logs from the largest trees on our farm. Our second home still stands on the northeast corner of School Section and Wall Road. Robert was a veteran thresher and corn husker. We had 7 children: Sarah, Caroline, George Wellington, Joseph, Robert, Mary Miranda, and Arthur E. Our 3 daughters married on December 25th. Our second home had many spacious rooms and had a recently installed furnace and the most modern conveniences, including bathrooms and plumbing. It was a frequent gathering place for many of our friends and our family. We enjoyed many warm nights with the company of our children and our grandchildren. I enjoyed cooking for them and hosting many evenings. I love taking care of my guinea fowl and my chickens, and I call to them out the back doors, "Where's my babies?" and feed them very often. Robert and I are inseparable. We love visiting our daughters and working together out on the farm. We also enjoy going to church every Sunday as much as possible. He drives a car into work, which is quite fortunate because cars are very scarce these days. My daughters drive out to help me when work gets tough, so I still see them very often, even though they're married and gone. We always say that every dollar has been earned by dint of hard work and economy, and I have said that our house is a good place and we know how we got it. Robert retired at 80 years old. He threshed for more than 60 years on 100 acres of corn and soybean. At Christmas, we had 21 people over, and we had a lovely dinner and enjoyed a new Victrola that Robert had just bought with the latest records. And it was also our 3 daughters' anniversary. On the 81st of my 81st birthday, I had a large birthday cake and enjoyed many people over. My family and lots of friends came over. A news reporter wrote an article on it, and he said that I was regarded as one of the most devoted mothers in the county, and that I always had a well-spread table with the best prepared food, and everyone was welcome to eat. Unfortunately, after my 81st birthday, I passed away 2 months later. I was a pioneer woman and enjoyed many years of life with my husband, Robert, who we were devoted together for a very long time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. My name is Arabelle Weeder Freeman Fanning. I was born in 1855 in Palmyra, Michigan, and I lived there for the next 16 years. When I turned 16, I got married to a wonderful man called Harrop Freeman, who also resided in Palmyra. My father's name was Thomas, and my mother's name was Mary Opton. When Thomas and I got married, we were farming for a year in Palmyra, and then we decided to move to Richmond. Shortly after moving to Richmond, my husband decided to start a very exciting business, wholesale and retail egg candling. Okay, and for those of you who don't know what egg candling is, it's a method used in embryology to start the growth and development of an embryo inside of an egg. So a bright light, in that case was a candle, would go behind an egg, and then we could see if the egg was developing okay and could be edible, and there was no chick inside. Harrop and I gave birth to 2 beautiful children, Margaret, who later married Caleb Miller, and Mabel Freeman, who unfortunately died at the age of 5. Harrop suddenly died in 1884, and after mourning his death for 3 years in 1887, I married Thomas Fanning on May 4th. He was the son of Bridget Wallop and Patrick Fanning. Thomas and his younger brother Frank worked for Harrop, my late husband, for the egg handling company, and afterwards decided to buy the business and continue it. However, he renamed it to keeping my late husband's name and his name, Freeman Fanning Candling Company. Thomas and I had one beautiful daughter, Rena, and she gave us 3 wonderful grandchildren, Margaret, and one set of twins. Thomas died on May 28th, 1927 in Richmond, and I died later, January 13th, 1944 at the age of 99. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me because I don't think I can handle one of these newfangled, I don't know what it is. Well, I was born Ellen Cudworth in Allegheny County, New York, and my parents were Daniel Cudworth and Holt Harry Cudworth. And when I was 13, our whole family, my 3 brothers and my 4 sisters, moved to Chesterfield, Michigan. And that's where my father had some land for a farm. He was able to get some land for a farm. And there we were, but you know what happened that very year that we were there in October? My father passed away, sadly. And then we had a very rough time for a while because my oldest brother was home. Well, we managed somehow, and that very year, my sister Phoebe married a Bailey up there in Richmond. Now, there are a lot of Baileys up in Richmond. You know, I think there's a street named after them. And so that was very nice. And then when I was 16, I started teaching school. I taught at the lovely little schoolhouse down the road, and it was a delightful time. And I taught for about 5 years until I married. You know, teachers didn't teach after they were married and that thing. And so I married William Terry Kirkham. Well, you know his middle name being Terry. And then my mother's last name was Terry. And of course, the Terrys back in New York, we had quite a connection with them. Now, William was born over there in Ionia. And he came into town, and we just had a delightful time. We built a wonderful house out there on Gratiot Avenue, just near Richmond, and the Clacketts were our neighbors just down the way. Of course, we know the Clacketts, we've known them for years, you know. And, you know, it's a sturdy house. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it was standing, if it was standing as far as, 2014, it might still be there. Now, some people and some families have a street named after them. Well, I am very proud to say that we have a drain named after us. It's the Kirkham Drain, and it still is out there in Lenox Township, and I bet it will still be there in 2014. Well, let me see now. Will and I were married for 40 years, and we had 4 sons and 2 daughters. And we went to the Congregational Church, the First Congregational Church, and you know that church at first held they had a building from the local grain elevator that they had bought, and that's where they held church. Well then, we finally got the new church built on the corner of Churchill and Carter Street in 1878. It's in 78 we built the new church. And it was wonderful. We all went there, the Rickses and the Weekses, and it was a very nice First Congregational Church. But now our children, Alfred has moved all the way to Los Angeles. Can you imagine that? All the way to Los Angeles. And Ella married a Fillmore from over in that Armada town. And then Arthur, we're so proud of Arthur. He went to barber school, and now he is the barber in Richmond. Oh, we're so proud of him. And you know, he married Elizabeth Reeves, And she was from up there in Port Huron and Smiths Creek area, and we called her Lizzie. And do you know, she always talks about that Thomas Edison, because he was their grocery boy when she was a young girl. And you know, he's the one that fusses around with that electricity, you know? But, and then everybody always says that he's going to blow himself right up through the roof one of these days. But he's never done that. No. Now let's see. Getting back to Arthur, he has this barber shop in Richmond, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was there for 50 years, because everybody just loves him. And recently, a young man, a nice young man, has joined him at the barber shop. And his name is Frank Holmes, and he was there. Now, the barber shop has been a place where the gentlemen of the community love to congregate, especially the retired vets from the Civil War. There's a colonel that comes in, you know, from the Civil War, and then the other gentlemen of the town like to congregate and chat and visit. And they come in, and well, you walk in, they hang their coat and hat up on the near after rack, and then they light their cigar on this contraption that Arthur has in there, some sort of alcohol run, sort of something or other that lights their cigar. And then, do you know, each one has their own chair that they specially sit in, and nobody else sits in the other person's chair. And some of them bring their own cushions and sit in it, and then they take their cushions back. Well, now, the barber shop has a cigar counter in it and a painting machine. And, you know, they sit there and chat and talk, and they look out the window, the great big window. There's some palm trees there, palm leaves, you know what I mean, with those plants. And they like to keep their eye on the livery that's next door, because they want to see who is renting a horse and buggy for the day. And they keep their eye on that. Now, the other thing they keep their eye on is across the street, Postmaster Charles Heath is sorting the mail, and he always keeps the shutters of the stamp window shut while he sorts out all this mail. And once he gets it all done, he opens up the shutters, and then everybody crosses the street and gets their mail and comes back and reads it. Now, the other thing about the barber shop is, I really shouldn't tell you this. I mean, I shouldn't be talking, no lady should be talking about this, but the most exciting place in the barber shop is the back end, because in the back end are 2 pool tables and 1 billiard table. And that's where Square Deal Miller and Doc Waterloo and Harry Simmons and George Bailey and all the boys have their pin pool tournaments. They shouldn't tell you that, but that's what happens. That's what happens. Now, that makes me think. The other day, my poor little granddaughter, Sybil, oh my goodness, she's the sweetest little thing. But you know, she was playing Queen Elizabeth. And she got herself one of those decorative pipe sleeves, you know, when you put a stovepipe in the wall, and then there's a hole where you have this sleeve that you put over it, and it comes up the hole, you know. Well, she put it on her head, thinking it was going to be a crown. And you know what happened? It slipped right down onto her shoulders. Well, she couldn't get it back up, and it was a terrible circumstance. And so she had to sit at her father's barbershop, waiting for Mr. Peterman, the Tin Man, to finish his lunch. And I don't know how long that poor little thing waited. We finally got over there with his great big scissors, and then snip, 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 right towards her little face. You know, he could have done something else in the back, no, he did it in the front. And the little tears just down her head to the poor little thing. You know, she was born, let me think now, she was born in the house on the corner of Monroe and Parker. And something tells me that that is the very house that the future mayor of Richmond is going to live. Leroy Ricks. That's where she was born. Well, let me see. You know, another thing, I think if she ever grows up and has a little boy, I bet she'll name him after her grandfather, William Kirkham, and probably call him Kirk, you know. Well, let me see. I have something else to talk about. I'll have to tell you about my daughter, Caroline. She lives out in San Francisco now, and she sent a letter the other day. Oh, she's a wonderful dressmaker, by the way, just wonderful. And you know, we call her Carrie. Anyway, Carrie sent this letter and told about this thing that happened to her the other day. And I'm telling you, this is a story that's going to go on for generations. I can tell you that for sure. Well, here's what happened. Carrie had a dog named Major, and she just adored that dog. Well, you know, she never married, you know. But anyway, she loved that dog so much, and you know what? Major died. And she felt so bad and sad, and she just didn't want to dispose of him in some silly, terrible way. So she thought she would take the dog out to the country, out to the farm, and bury him in some nice spot on the farm. And so she put him in her valise. Now, this dog was a Springer. Not too big, not too small. He fit into the valise just fine. Just fine. So she started out to go to the train station, and, you know, up the hills and dales of San Francisco. And walking along there, and she met a nice gentleman who was going to the train station too. And so they struck up a conversation, and it was going well, and they got along a little ways, and he took pity on her and said, "Would you like me to carry the valise?" And so she happily handed it over, and so he was nice, he carried the valise. And so they got to the train station, and there were 3 flights of stairs that went up to the platform, you know, where you get on the train. And so they went up the first flight, chatting and visiting all the way, and he was a little bit ahead, and he'd wait for her to catch up, and, you know, just a really nice situation. And they went up to the second flight, and that was nice, hello, nice chatting and visiting and everything. They got to the third flight, and that man took off with that valise. And Carrie said, "I've never